Hi there, it's Misty from the Book Rat, and it's time for Book Chat. This month, since everybody's heading back to school, I thought we'd talk about books that we wish we could give to our younger selves. So you can interpret this however you'd like. Books that you wish you would have had as a kid, books you wish you would have had as a teen. Doesn't matter how old you are, if you're 60 and want to pick books that you wish you could give yourself at 30. It can just be books that you think you would like at that age. Books that would be meaningful to you at a certain point in your life. However you want to interpret it, that's absolutely fine. Most of mine are either books that I love now and think I would have really loved as a kid, or books that I think I would have enjoyed more as a kid than I did as an adult. This one's not exciting, it has no cover, but The Protector of the Small series by Tamra Pierce. I've talked a number of times about how much I adored the Song of the Lioness series by Tamra, which kind of changed the way I read and what I thought a book could be. At 11, I didn't know to look through the library catalog by author, so I never read anything else by her until I was well into my adulthood. The way the Song of the Lioness series took over my head, I think Protector of the Small would have done the exact same thing, and quite possibly some of her other books too. Serafina by Rachel Hartman and Dragon Slippers by Jessica Day George. When I was a kid, and until fairly recently, honestly, I was very anti-dragon. I'm not entirely sure why, because they're kind of awesome. It was too, Dungeons and Dragons. It was too for boys. And I think, too, I always thought they were going to be very much about knights in shining armor, and if there was a woman in the book, she would be a damsel. Just didn't appeal to me, I guess, as a kid, and so these two, which feature female main characters and pretty awesome dragons, I think would change my mind. On a similar note, I would like to hand myself some graphic novels. When I was 9 or so, I really liked comics, superhero comics, and then someone must have told me that they weren't for girls. It was like the blink of an eye when I was 9, and then never again until I was an adult. It's a shame, first of all, that I gave up something that I really liked as a kid, but also I think it's a shame that I never realized how big a category it could be and how much depth you can really find in graphic novels and in comics. I love Persepolis and Mouse and the sort of wordless comics of Sarah Varone, but I don't think that my younger self would appreciate those as much. But to kind of show my younger self what else is out there and how good they can be, and that they're not just for boys, and that it's okay to like superhero comics, and that I can like whatever the hell I want, I think my younger self would really enjoy the Zeta comics by Ben Hotkey and Anya's Ghost by Vera Broskell. Both of these I think would really appeal to me as a kid. I loved them both completely as an adult, but I was really into the sort of darker ghosts and the macabre as a kid, so this definitely would have won me over. And this, when I reviewed these, I talked about how they seem to pluck all of these great things out of my childhood. I think that my childhood self would have really loved these. And if you're a young girl, you're allowed to like superheroes and comics and dragons and whatever else you want to like. And on the flip side, if you're a boy, you're allowed to like princesses or fairies or unicorns or contemporary romance. Whatever you like, you're allowed to. Breadcrumbs by Anne Ursu. I would love to give this to my younger self. I absolutely adored it as an adult, and I think that there are things that I got out of it that I wouldn't necessarily have gotten out of it as a kid, but just the magic of it I wish I could have read as a kid. Savvy by Ingrid Law. This is another one that I adore as an adult, and it's so sort of fanciful and whimsical. I think that it would have I would have completely eaten it up as a kid. The Humming Room by Ellen Potter. I was a big fan of The Secret Garden as a kid, and still am, of course. So I think that younger me would have been really intrigued by the idea that someone could take a story that's already out there and adapt it and reinterpret it. Coraline by Neil Gaiman. As I mentioned earlier, I was definitely into the darker stuff as a kid. When I read this, I knew without a shadow of a doubt I would have adored this as a kid. The Fairyland books by Catherine M. Valente. I really, really like these as an adult, and I think sort of like Breadcrumbs, there are things that I get out of them now that I wouldn't necessarily have gotten out of them as a kid. However, kid me would have loved this. The Hero's Guide to Saving Your Kingdom by Christopher Healy. I liked this as an adult. I think I would have connected more with this as a kid, and I also would have liked seeing The Bold Princesses and the Bumbling Princes by These 10 Bones by Claire B. Dunkel. I really did like this, however, it's written very simply, which doesn't necessarily bother me on its own, but in this case it sort of felt like a little something was lacking to me. Things that bothered me as an adult, I would not have even noticed as a kid, as a 12-year-old. The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. I didn't read these until I was well into adulthood. Still loved them, loved every minute of them, but much like Alice in Wonderland, I wish I could have gotten a hold of it as a kid and just immersed myself in the world. I would have absolutely loved it. So I'm sure there are plenty more. There are also a lot of books that I haven't read yet that I have a feeling my inner child would be pleased, and some of them that's why I want to read them, like Tiger Lily or Splendors and Glooms. There are a lot of things that I see that just call out to young Misty, but those are the ones that I have read that I think I would have loved as a kid and really wish that I could just push them into my childhood hands. I'm curious to know what you would give to your younger self and hope that you will make a video response or a blog post. You can link both up at the linky at thebookrat.com. I will leave that below. And of course you can add your videos as a video response. I hope that this topic and thinking about what you would like as a kid motivates you to talk with the children in your life and recommend books that you either loved as a kid or loved as an adult that you think they would like. Recommendations mean a lot to children. Anytime an adult talks to a kid like they're not a kid, just like a buddy, hey, I think you'd really like this, especially when it's not their parents, they really take that to heart, and it's a really great way to connect with budding readers and sort of catch them before reading becomes uncool and they don't want to do it anymore. Just a suggestion, if you've got any kids in your life, show them your video or talk to them about the books that you chose. But that's all from me. Until next time, happy reading!